The 70 Weeks of Daniel, the countdown to the end of times. Have you ever wondered how some events in the world seem to be interconnected, as if everything follows a grand plan? What if I told you that one of the most astonishing prophecies about the end times is hidden in the book of Daniel? This prophecy, known as the 70 Weeks of Daniel, reveals surprising details about the past, present, and future. More than that, it was written with such precision that it describes events hundreds of years in advance. How is that possible? Today we are going to dive deep into this prophecy and understand how God allowed Daniel not only to see what would happen, but also when it would happen. Get ready to discover what lies behind this powerful message, why it is so important for our time, and how it can help us better understand the world around us. But be warned, what you're about to hear could completely change your perspective on the future. Let's begin. Daniel, at around 87 years old, was at a stage in life when many might think of resting. However, he was not willing to stop seeking answers about what God was doing in the world at that time. The Babylonian Empire had fallen, and the Persians were in power. For Daniel, this was more than just a political shift. He knew these events were part of a greater plan of God. But what was that plan? That is what he wanted to discover. Daniel began by studying the scripture. He understood that to find answers, he first had to listen to what God had already said. Read the words of the prophet Jeremiah, who spoke of something intriguing. The exile of the people of Israel would last 70 years. For Daniel, this was more than a historical curiosity. It was a promise, and he knew that the time was almost up. Now think about it. How must Daniel have felt knowing that God's promises were about to be fulfilled? The excitement of knowing that his people might be just a few years away from returning to their land must have been immense, but something deeply troubled him. People were not praying. Jeremiah had made it clear that for the promise to be fulfilled, the people needed to seek God with all their hearts, and that was not happening. Daniel could have blamed others for this lack of action, but instead he took on the responsibility of interceding. He knew that prayer had the power to move heaven and earth, so he prepared himself. He set aside his luxurious clothes, dressed in sackcloth, covered himself in ashes, and fasted. He decided to pray fervently, not just for himself, but for the entire nation. While he was praying, something extraordinary happened. The angel Gabriel appeared to bring a message from God. Imagine that Daniel was praying intensely, and before he could finish his prayer, Gabriel arrived with the answer. Gabriel did not come just to calm Daniel, but to reveal something far beyond what he expected. God was not only planning to free the people from exile, he had a much greater plan to redeem humanity and establish eternal justice. Gabriel explained that God had designated a period of 490 years, or 70 weeks of years, to fulfill this plan. It was a divine timeline with specific stages. First, Jerusalem would be rebuilt. Then, the Messiah would come, and finally, eternal justice would be established. Every detail of this prophecy was aligned with God's perfect timing. This revelation was both exciting and challenging. Daniel had asked for a quick answer, but God revealed a plan that would take centuries to be completed. This teaches us something profound. While we seek immediate answers, God works with an eternal perspective. He does not just solve temporary problems. He transforms entire stories. In the next few minutes, we will delve into each detail of this prophecy and understand what it means not only for the past but also for our present and future. After all, if God was so precise in fulfilling these promises, we can trust that he will continue to fulfill every one of his words. Daniel knew that he needed to seek God with faith and dedication, just as Daniel studied the scriptures and devoted himself to prayer. We are called to do the same. The angel Gabriel revealed that God had prepared a redemption plan spanning 490 years divided into clear stages. During the first 49 years, Jerusalem would be rebuilt, and then there would be a period of 434 years until the arrival of the Messiah. But the most shocking part was what Gabriel said about the Messiah. He would be rejected and put to death. This event, central to the Christian faith, was prophesied centuries before, showing how God was in control of every detail. Gabriel also spoke about the destruction of Jerusalem, which occurred in the year 70 after Christ when the Roman army devastated the city and the temple. The last week of the prophecy, the final 7 years, is still in the future. Gabriel explained that this period will begin with a powerful leader making a peace covenant. However, halfway through those 8 years, this leader will break the agreement in a time of tribulation. Unlike anything ever seen, Jesus spoke about this period in Matthew, chapter 24, describing it as a time of great suffering. However, he also assured that these days would be shortened for the sake of the elect. The final week marks the climax of God's plan for humanity. At the end of this period, Jesus will return in glory to defeat evil, restore justice, and establish his eternal kingdom. The prophecy of the 70 weeks teaches us that God is in absolute control of time and events, every detail from the past. Events to future ones aligns with his perfect plan. As we live in this time of grace between the 69th and final week, we are called to live with purpose, faith, and obedience. Like Daniel, we must seek God, pray fervently, and trust that his promises will be fulfilled. God was faithful in the past and will continue to be faithful in the future. The question is, are you ready to trust him completely and live according to his purpose?